All right, my Dominican people. It's another time of doing battle where we continue to do battle for country. And it's another Saturday evening, and so it's always a pleasure to be in your company each and every Saturday from just about that time, the 6 o'clock hour, where we always have this engagement as it pertains to our country's development. Let me just say straight up the bat, those of you who are on the live feed at this time, please share that live information. Make someone know that that program is on, and so they too can participate and also partake from what is to be said and done here tonight. All right. So tonight, yes, as I said, is the 2nd of March. Well, the year is flying by very, very quickly. So we're already the 2nd of March 2024. We are first quarter in the year already. Let me just turn down that volume of that phone here, because we'll be getting a number of disturbances here, because that phone always goes off the hook ever so often. All right. Dominicans, what I want to just tell us straight up the bat, even before we go into the meatier matters of things here this evening, the social media platforms that we know as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and the list goes on and on. There's a constant battle for pride of place as it pertains to these platforms, and so there are some changes that have been made by some of these platforms as it pertains to how persons like myself and yourself log on there and what we do when we do on there. And so lately I've been having a lot of difficulty with Facebook in particular, whereby I cannot go landscape on Facebook. And so my only other option is to go YouTube, is to do the program in YouTube. And so I'm alerting all of us that come April, April, the program, well, at least that program, the Saturday Night Live, will be streamed on YouTube primarily, and I will see how we can restream it on Facebook if that is possible. All right. But as I said, just to reiterate my point here, of late, yours truly and other users have been getting a number of complaints, a number of issues as it pertains to Facebook. Facebook will only allow live vlogging, as it were, a live program like that, in what they call a portrait mode, meaning your phone has to be vertical, all right, and not horizontal, not in the landscape mode. With the landscape mode, you get much more of the background, you get much more of the scenery, and so a lot of persons prefer that. But YouTube is the one, I'm being told, affords that now. And so yours truly have a YouTube channel. I mentioned it to you guys sometime back, and that is Lofty Live, Lofty, Lofty Live. So come April, we will be moving across to that channel, all right, so that we can get maximum from our programming content, all right. So I just want to put us on high alert as to what we'll be doing come the first Saturday in April, okay. But for the rest of March, we'll be sticking around, holding on, hanging around with the social media, Facebook, but just getting you guys prepared for what is to come April, all right. Dominicans, if it was for my own energy, I would not be here with you guys, for sure. In terms of energy from yours truly, it is not up to scratch. I've been doing a lot of up and down lately, and the energy level is really not there. But when I listen to some of your encouragements out there throughout the week, Lofty, we are listening. We are always on from persons who I don't know, persons far and wide, persons in Dominica, out of Dominica, reach out. And so these platforms, these social media platforms, they really have a way of connecting with people. And so it is that encouragement, it is those encouragement that keeps me going. And so I thank you guys for always reaching out. I know at least one brother in Enough. I wouldn't call his name now, but he's always on. And if it's one thing with this brother, he always calls me and gives me his feedback personally. Some women do that as well, but that is what keeps the whole engine going. It is the feedback, the comments, the queries, the questions, the research, the things that you ask of me and have me to go and do some research on your behalf. All right. So basically that is where things are for now. I will be giving us a snapshot as to where we'll be going tonight in terms of the content of the program. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be continuing to tag, as it were, or to make the parallel connection with what is going on in Russia today as we speak and what is going on in our country. So that will be the first item on the agenda. Also, I'll be making a special plea for the Bath Estate and Emzor people, the Bath Estate and Emzor residents to be precise, knowing fully well that Brother Charles Angelo Savre, the past president of Dominica, he is back at Emzor, living as a private citizen. And there are some things that I think that you should know and is of concern really and truly to Dominicans by and large, but the people of Emzor and Bath Estate primarily, and the users of that road in that area. All right, so we'll be touching Emzor and Bath Estate persons in just a while. And yes, a plea I'll be making to those persons on their behalf. All right, Dominicans, I want to touch as well on a very important topic, a very important situation that this government that we have here, what is said to be the Labour Party government. A lot of persons are not in sync with that. But for the program's sake, we will call it that. I myself know it is not the Labour Party, the real Labour Party, the Leblanc's Labour Party, the Rousseau's Labour Party, you know, the Pierre Charles Labour Party. That is not it. But for program's sake, as I said, we will go with the Labour Party. So the Labour Party is in power, and it will not be at the helm for very much longer. Again, I want to repeat, it will not be at the helm for very much longer. So there will be another group of persons who will form a government, who will take over the reins of power in this country. I want to repeat that. There will be, pretty soon, a new group of people who will take over the reins of power in this country. And they will have to come up to scratch, as it were, as it pertains to governing this country effectively, managing this country effectively. If you ask me personally, my own opinion is, if you look at the definitions of a leader and a manager, where Dominica is at now, presently, I think we more need a good manager than a good leader. A leader looks down the road. A leader is visionary, or should be visionary. A leader looks beyond what the normal man or woman can see and projects. A manager, on the other hand, deal with the everyday, the day-to-day situation. Most time that comes down or comes off from a leader in terms of his ideas and visions for whatever he's leading. But in that case, we're talking about a country. So I believe Dominica more needs a manager, good managers to take this country from where it's at now to bring it to a place or plane where it's supposed to be. And so that is looking at the resources now of this country and putting these resources in the right places so that these resources can work for and on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth. Once we can get that right, then we can now look into the more visionary aspect of things 15, 20, 30 years down the line. But for now, where we are now in this sort of cesspool, we need managers. We need honest, genuine, transparent, and open managers with the people of Dominica. And so is in that vein now, I'll be touching on a segment with us tonight whereby once that government is out of the way, the next set of people, they have to be, as I said, open, honest, genuine, transparent, and the descriptions go on and on and on as it pertains to good governance, good and accountable governance. And so the task will be very, very daunting for whoever forms that next government. It is not an easy road ahead. And so whoever is willing to put their name in that ring, whoever is willing to do that kind of work, they have to realize, we have to realize that it is hard work ahead. Very hard work ahead. Arduous work ahead. And it calls for a certain kind of mettle of a man and woman as well to deal with that kind of work that is needed ahead. Yeah? So I'll be going down into some more detailed aspect of things as to just how that new government, from my perspective, and I guess I will get from you as well, must deal with its people. All right? Yeah? Now, we heard something this week where we heard the present Minister of Tourism, it is, yes, Mrs. Dennis Charles Pemberton, where she reacted to some comment or some suggestion as to the do nothing day or do nothing week or do nothing innovative idea that was set about last week Sunday. And so sometime later in the program, what yours truly will be doing is to going through a sort of fine-tooth comb, playing Dennis Pemberton's statement and really having us understand what she's saying, but more importantly, understand and realize what is at stake. Because when I heard Dennis Charles this week, I was wondering whether Dennis Charles is from a different planet as to some of the things she espoused. Yeah? Finally, on the program this evening, I will be telling you guys as to who will be having on the program tomorrow. That is the Civic Vibes program, that is. We'll be having a continuation, which is a wrap-up session of Brother Lloyd Pascal. He started a conversation with us with Black History Month, and he gave his commitment to come to wrap that up. We could not wrap it up last week because of the event at the Arch. So he has decided to come on tomorrow and wrap up that discussion, but put it more in a Dominican context. So the week before, he gave us the broad base or the broad brush aspect of the Black History Month aspect of things. But tomorrow, Mr. Pascal will be still on Black history, still on us as a black people, and the importance of our works in terms of development and whatever it takes. But he will be focusing more his efforts and driving us in that department as to where Dominica is concerned. All right, so you want to be in tune for that discussion. It will be very interesting. And coming in at 7 o'clock, he has agreed to come on. That is none other than Mr. former Prime Minister Edison Chenfield James. He will be on with us from 7 o'clock. He is and still continues to be one of the proponents of the do-nothing innovation, the do-nothing idea. And so a lot of persons in their mind, they're still sort of confused as to what is what, or what should we do, what should we not do, who should do, who should do what. And so Mr. James will be here with us tomorrow from 7, if everything holds equal, to sort of dissect what that is and who should be involved. All right? So we know Mr. James is a very eloquent speaker, and we expect the very witty side of him each and every time he speaks. Let's hope he can give us some of his very genius conversation tomorrow. All right? So persons, that is it in terms of the content where we go tonight. Let me just big up the 200 plus persons who are here, 250 plus persons who are here already. I'll not be going through the list because it is too much of a long list tonight, but just thanking each and everyone for being on. And yes, those of you who have not shared the live as yet, please share that live indeed. Let me big up my brother Thaddeus James. He's one of the brothers on the front line. There are many of us on the front line, but Thaddeus, I want to big him up tonight. I think I listened to a live from this brother. I think it was last week, Tuesday or Wednesday. I was dozing off already, but somebody alerted me that is on. And the back end of what his conversation with us, it was very, very inspiring. And so, brother James, I want to give you kudos. And yes, you need to continue on that front line, brother. All right? Thank you very much, as all the rest of us, we are doing in our own little space. Okay? Good. Okay, so Dominicans, let us take flight now. I think we are cruising nicely now. As those big jetliners cruise at 35,000 feet, so we are right there, and so we are just going to sail through now. We know the story about this brother in Russia, Navalny, Alexei Navalny. Very unfortunate, but based on all reports, he was killed in prison, and he was killed by the system. And he knew jolly well what was at stake, but he decided to fight it out with his people and be there with his people. And so that is just one good characteristic of a leader, to be there with your people through thick and thin, in spite of it all. And so he paid the ultimate price, but that for sure has just, in my mind, germinated a lot more Navalny's, a lot more seeds of Navalny's. And there will come a day when Russia, as this very large country, will be much more democratic in nature because of this man's death. Because whenever you try to suppress something that is good, by even killing it, by putting it in the ground, because that is what they did. That is what Putin and his boys did, by putting Navalny's body in the ground. And by doing that, they basically planted a seed. And so the mantra is there. We heard it already. Be careful what you bury. It might just be a seed. And the tree or the plant that might be germinated out of that barrier, when that tree when that tree grows up, it might be a very formidable tree, an unrootable tree, as it were. So let us see the glass half full in that regard, knowing fully well that Navalny's death was a step in the right direction for his country, his quest, his desire for his people. Navia Newman, good evening to you from Grenada. Always patriotic young sister, always on the live with me each and every time, and that we heard her voice on Sunday gone. She sent in her solidarity message to us in Dominica. And Navia, what I want to tell you, it was well received by our people in Dominica, and so on their behalf, I want to thank you very, very much indeed. All right? And keep doing the work that you're doing in Grenada and the Caribbean and the world by extension. All right? The world needs more people like you. Thank you, my friend. Now, let us, okay, before we twin what is happening in Russia, this brother's body was put to the ground, and his wife, who is living outside of Russia, she basically, what should I say, could not come, did not come. I prefer to say could not come, because she said publicly she was scared for her life as well, because she envisaged a similar fate like they did to her husband, if ever or whenever she steps foot in Russia. Remember in 2019 it was thereabout, when this brother was poisoned with this agent called Novichok that basically can kill you in an instant. And the medical test done in Germany confirmed that he was poisoned with Novichok, that agent, that very poisonous agent. But the Germans had what it took to bring him back. And so she said basically she was not going to put herself in that same situation or similar situation. And so she did not attend the funeral of her husband in the flesh in Russia. And the shenanigans that went around with the burial of this brother, even in death, the regime, the rogue regime of Putin, they were fearful of this brother even in death. You can go online, look it up, read it up. We don't have enough time now to, go into details tonight. Yeah? Let's now do some twinning now. Let's do some twinning now to Dominica. As we speak, people, as we speak, there's moves by the police department in Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force. They are now investigating persons who are Dominicans, who are living outside of Dominica. And I got from the grapevines, yes, you heard me right, so it's more than one, that whenever these persons step foot in Dominica, they will be arrested and be brought in for questioning on whatever charge or charges that they are looking at. And so, how is that different from Navalny's wife case and others in Russia who dare not put foot in Russia because of the political persecution and prosecution? Yeah? So I am saying, what is unfolding now as we speak, it is parallel. We are running on parallel tracks. And if it is not nipped in the bud sooner rather than later, it can only get worse. And so just to put a little more detail as to what I'm talking to you about now, this Brian Linton fiasco that is unfolding. A number of persons were made to be on a group chat or accepted to be in a group chat, and some persons went there and, you know, said some things that, you know, were out of order, if you ask me. As a matter of fact, I can say categorically, I was placed on that group chat without my authorization. But when I looked at that, you know, what was going on there, I said, no, that cannot be for me. Because the conversations, they were very erratic. And I'm not that erratic of a person. And so I deleted myself from that group chat without saying a word. All right? So that is the scenario that is surrounding the outside investigation now of persons living outside of Dominica. As to what they said, what they didn't say, what they inferred, what they didn't infer, whatever it is. And now to compound the situation, that Brian Linton situation, I've been told, some of the police who are doing that kind of investigation from the head down, they are trying very, very hard to peg back what they are investigating presently to the leadership again of the United Workers' Party. Okay? That's what I'm being told. That is where they are heading. So it's not just Brian Linton and whoever was on that group chat. In their mind, and I got it from the grapevines, in the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, that they are looking now into trying to peg the United Workers' Party as a body, a party, an organization now, with what they think was supposed to go on between some persons speaking in very erratic terms, if you ask me. Yeah? So that is how it is, people. All right? We have at the head of the police force in Dominica, in terms of the National Security Minister, Mr. Rayburn Blackmore. Mr. Rayburn Blackmore was there, fired, brought back. And a lot of persons are saying it seems as if this brother Rayburn Blackmore, he knows where some bones are buried. And as a result, the powers that be cannot, I repeat, cannot get rid of him so easily. Why would you discard a man in the name of Blackmore? Said publicly, these discarded ministers have not been performing, they have not performed, and so they should go. And here it is, in the twinkle of an eye, the same man you said that wasn't performing and needed to go, he's back as head of security in your country. Yeah? And we heard, it was ventilated here some time back, we heard Reginald Austri on the fiasco that played out with Blackmore, whereby Reginald Austri, another discarded minister, said all of them in the cabinet, they are standing by Blackmore. Although what the charge was at the time and still is, because it is not yet properly ventilated in a court of law, where Blackmore should be answering questions as it pertains to his name and how he used state resources to do this and do that and whatever it is, and child in stomach and kind of foolishness. It was Reginald Austri, his tag team player, that put out his business and their business by extension. It was nobody else. So I am quoting now Reginald Austri. It can't get better than that. And so they all acknowledge what Blackmore was alleged to have been doing or done. It was bad, it was crucial, it was crude. But the brothers said they all stand in with Blackmore. And so that tells you, it gives us a good snapshot now as to what happens inside the cesspool, as I said before. Because you can't get no better word for it. It's a cesspool. They know it's wrong, but they cover it up. They cooperate it. They agree with it. And not just agree. Adding insult to injury, they come out and try to defend it. So let's get back to Blackmore now, the police. Blackmore is the head now of the police in Dominica. How can Satan correct sin, people? Where have you ever heard Satan correcting a sin? Because that is his MO, to be sinful. So when you have a man like Rayburn Blackmore, who is part and parcel of a system that is very corrupt, do you expect the police department, the high command of the police, to do anything better? They say the fish always start to rotten from the head. And so if the head is rotten, as it is rotten, then anything under the head, it will start to rot eventually. What about the guns that made their way? They walked from the police station in Central. What about that? Have we heard anything in terms of the brother they had and whatever? Have we heard any conclusive thing as it pertains to that investigation? And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. We heard Wayne James this week, a former sergeant of police in Dominica, retired or left the force. We heard Wayne James basically articulated the morass in which, the state in which the police department is in Dominica. And up till now, not a drum beat in terms of response or rebuttal to Wayne James' utterances. You heard it. And if what Wayne James said is true, and Wayne James to me is a very reputable man enough not to put his character into any disrepute to come and tell us anything that is not the unadulterated truth. If that is the state of our police force, then Dominica as a country is indeed in line for something. It's a very poor state, people. Very, very poor. But, as I always say, it is we the people. It all stems back to us to do something about our predicament, our situation. We have stayed back too long and allowed these people to ride our backs. It is we to get up, stand up, and demand what we want. That is it. It cannot happen no other way. Don't look for no Jesus Christ. Don't look for no America. Don't look for no regionals. Don't look for anything, anybody to come and do it. You and I have to put gird our loins and do it for ourselves. That is it. That is it, people. So the police force, it continues to be in that downward spiral mode as it pertains to law and order. Yeah? And now coupled with that, you have a court system now, the judiciary system, which the police is part of, and investigations and whatever it is, which is just just, you know, that system is clogged. The snail pace at which matters are being dealt with in the courts of Dominica, it is mind-boggling. We heard the circumstances, persons on remand for 15 years. And every time these people come to court, is either the prosecution team not ready, or the state is not ready to go ahead, or some kind of story. And so obviously, a good lawyer or good lawyers will use that now to their advantage. So I am suggesting or saying, we may have criminals walking the street now because of the very poor system. The loophole that persons find in the system to go scot-free. That's the judiciary. We have the old health system as well that I didn't want to touch on tonight, because that is like it's like an old refrain now. It's only when you are in it, you know it. A young lady told me this week she spent 14 days or whatever days at the hospital. And there was not the adequate care. But the bill was there. The high bill was there even before they told her she had to go home. So we now understand what is happening, people. Even before they told her she's good to go, the bill was on her chest. Yeah? That's how it is. Alright, people, it is what? I have a clock on my wall there. I don't like taking time from it because this clock always sets me off track. So I'll take the time from the telephone and say it's 7:15. My clock on the wall is saying 5:07. Alright? Let me just take some of your comments here before I go into the plea for the residents of Emzal and Bath Estate. Let me just see if I could take some comments here. Dory Drago, good evening, Brother Lofty Jira and my fellow compatriots. Just logging in from North Carolina. Guidance and God's protection, bro. Brother Drago, good evening to you as well. And nice hearing from you this week, saying that as a result of the loss of your son, you guys are getting back on track nicely. All right. Marshall Lawrence, right? I was told no airport site was found suitable in Dominica during DFP time. It was proven that the site you'd all prepared for was proven the best. You won't distract us. Sorry. All right, I guess Brother Marshall is answering to somebody here. E.J. Thomas says, 3 CID agents led by Inspector Toulon. Nothing new or lofty. Marcelin Ed was right. Nobody cares with the jackass criminals of the Dominica Police Force. Curtis Phillips says, all you guys need to be in jail 2014, 2019. Well, Curtis Phillips, thank you for listening, my brother. And there are some things that I consider, let me not put everybody in, I consider to be Hosmanio. And so I will regard that statement of yours as that and move on. All right. Carlin Ferrer says, blackmail is worse than loaded snake. Marshall Durayo, they're listening. Lyndon George says, bring back the billion. Marcelin comes back and writes, I shall never be silenced nor intimidated. E.J. Thomas says, Dominic Isle of bones and skeletons from what? From May 29, 1979. That's a nice way to put it. All right, let me just see if I can call some more names that I haven't called as yet in terms of getting some fresh ideas in. Marshall Dira says, I'm a bit late, but I'm there. Evening Tutmon, Veronica Pascal. Them police must turn their guns on each other. Who else we have? Who else we have in terms of some persons new commenting? Jasid Leroy says, please share the information, people. Richard says, all rest days are cancelled, forcing the officers to report to work on Monday, but they can still fall sick Monday morning or Sunday night. We'll get to that in just a while, brother, but thanks for punching that right here. Who else we have here? Everson McGlaw says, facts, the hospital is a mess. Grace Judy writes, every time I hear anything about that hospital, I am vexed. Who else we have here in terms of more comments before we move on? Franklin Timothy, it's not that I'm too close. It is what I said before. Maybe you were very late to pick up on what I said before. Why you are seeing me that close is that Facebook will not allow me to do the landscape like before. So everything now is in portrait mode. So that mode is it pulls the presenter much closer. All right. So even if I go way back, you will not be hearing me, and so we have to kind of balance it off here. All right. But the good thing is, come April, we will be streaming this program from YouTube. I have this YouTube channel, Lofty Live, which I upload all these programs that I do every Saturday to YouTube. So those of you who want to see this program again, it is on YouTube. But for sure, come April, we'll be doing these programs on YouTube. All right, which affords us much more flexibility in terms of the landscaping board. All right. All right, Dominicans, let's move on. It is 10 to 7, yes. Emzol, Bath Estate. I confirmed with a resident of that area that the bridge that linked Bath Estate down by Dead End Bar, for those of you who knew where that bar used to be, that link bridge linking Bath Estate end there to Emzor, that bridge was washed away by Tropical Storm Erica. Now, Tropical Storm Erica, if memory serves me right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that passed in 2015. So 2015 to 2024. Okay? We're looking at what, 9 years, going on 10 years, that bridge has been washed away by weather, by rain, by the river overflowing its banks. I believe some brothers even died there as well during Erica. And down to this day, people, this government that your tourism minister said everything doesn't just happen, everything happens in stages. Mr. Minister will come to you in just a while. A bridge that is very much in need by the people of that locale. 10 years on, nothing in sight. Now, I want to pull Charles Savre now into the conversation, because Charles Savre was the president of Dominica for 2 terms. Charles Savre picked up that position, that prestigious position, I must add, on the backs, on the heels of he being a minister in the Labour Party government, the ministry that Rayburn holds today, National Security. So it was one day a minister of National Security. I remember Charles Savre on Kyrie FM, Gunny Manuel, inferring that Gunny Manuel did whatever he did to himself. That's that is what I got when I listened to the statements of Charles Savre and Carbon by extension. We well remember Charles Savre by his utterances brought Brisbane, Breezy Mac to its knees by telling Dominicans, do not patronize, do not shop at Brisbane, which was, I must say, an indigenous business in Dominica. Mr. Jerry Brisbane, good evening to you, sir, and your family. And so Charles Savre words back then, it caused a lot of havoc in Dominica, just like it did in the 70s, when some hailed him a hero and some hailed him whatever they hailed him, a destroyer. It depends on which side of the political aisle that you were on at the time. So the people who were supporting the freedom movement or the freedom right or the Mamu movement, Charles Savre was a savior. He was a champion. He was a leader. But the government of Patrick John that he brought to its knees, these people back then hailed him a destroyer of Dominica, at least for 47 days. And so it is that same Charles Savre, because we must go back before we go forward. It is that same Charles Savre that was sitting as president of Dominica for 10 years on, from 2013 to 2023. Mr. Charles Savre, his residence is at Emsall, just around the area where that bridge was washed out. And so I don't know if Charles Savre thought that 10 years would never come and go, or 10 years would never come and gone. And used his influence as president of Dominica to at least ask his government, because he was a part of them, to come to the rescue, come to the aid of the Emsall people and Baffin State people. Because knowing fully well that is where he would have to go back as a private citizen. And that is the situation as we speak as of now. He is back at Emsall, I'm being told, and the bridge is not there. Or a bridge is not there. Not even a Bailey Bridge. After Tropical Storm Erika, Bailey Bridge they were bowling, as we say in Dominica. But for some reason, I don't know who it is in Emsall, I don't know who it is in Baffin State, that is anti-government so much that they are victimizing, and I am saying that now, the people in that locale. And so the only entrance to and through, in and out of Emsall, particularly now, is the Gardens route, the Yui route. And on the top of that is Mount Bruce. So God forbid that piece of cliff would come down or decide to block that passage, that only passage now. The Emsall people in particular, including Charles Savre now, they would be locked off from the rest of the country. What I'm going to tell you now, I cannot speak with much authority on it because I haven't gone to see for myself. But I got a report from somebody who lives in the area. And I like St. Thomas. I like to feel. I like to see. I like to bring the evidence to me. So when I speak, I can speak from a position of facts. But the person who told me, I don't think they will lie to me. They told me, Lofty, the road leading to the non-existent bridge, which has to make a right to go into Charles Savre quarters and others, that road is in a very dilapidated state. So not even the bridge, not even the road, sorry, that is being kept in order in that area. But Charles Savre was sitting comfortable in what we call in Dominica the State House or the White House for 10 years. When I think about that, people, it is only reasonable to suggest that if a person of that influential of a position is from a certain area, knowing fully well that that person will have to go back to that position or go back to that location, that at least because of your position, because of the influence that you hold, the rest of your residents, the rest of your neighbors should be able to feel the positive impact of your influence, of your position. So am I to understand now that Charles Savre sat there for 10 years and did not have any influence on his people, his former colleagues, as to, hey guys, you know, let's do something. Even if it was for him he was asking, but at least spread it so that the people could benefit, or give it a people's twist. No. So in the week, I'll be going to Emzor to see for myself the condition of that road that I'm talking to you about, and to take out one of the pictures of the void, the hole that is left between two pieces of rock where a bridge was supposed to be erected many moons ago. Yeah? I'll go there this week to take out some photos. And most likely next week, bring it to you guys, especially those of you overseas who cannot remember or don't have an idea what we're talking about. Let me take some comments because we're having an interaction before I move to the next set of persons taking up the reins of power. What they have to do or what should be done. Okay, I think I will start here with Marley Ostry says, Savre have to suffer. E.J. Thomas says, what a piece of work Charles was and still is. Tyson Isidore carried the labor regime for big time. Youtheli Vidal says, some hail him a hero, while some hail him a boo. Long time I haven't heard that word, eh? Boo. Marjal Dira says they will walk across the river. What's that? Epidas. That Epidasit in my St. Lucia voice. Marjal, you have to break that down for me. Epidasit. I didn't catch that. Break it down for me. Tyson Isidore said UWP builds so much bridges and schools. Mamu says merge with labor and take UWP out. Whatever party that was working in UWP. Someone comes back and says Api Desat Fini Api Fini Episa. Who else we have here? Mary Jo says key job influence you have. Give me a break. Turn lofty. So Mary Jo, you don't have influence. Mary Jo, I hear you, but I would want to think otherwise, all right? I would want to think otherwise. But I hear your comment. I read your comment. Alex Bartley, right? He reached there, so they go fix it. Fix the road. All right? I won't mention the last part because I cannot vouch for your statement. Gardia de Luz says, Savre, trust me, he was a crucial president. The man greedy. Tyson Isidore says, look, all standpipe Rosso closed down. You think is me says, even Mr. Eliud William, former president, too, stay in Emzor. Yes, thank you for that as well. Everson McGlaw writes, the Chinese will build it, man. That it will like. That's what it like in Dominicao. You guys are freaking me up with your comments, eh? Well, I guess everything is Chinese building, Chinese building, Chinese building. So you may be correct. But to me, that is much too long now. 10 years, that is much too long. Much too long. Alright? So I think even these past presidents, they're supposed to have a level of clout. So I'm asking them, Eliud Charles and Charles Savre and Charles Seas and whoever they are. Please, do something for the people in there. Alright? 10 years is much too long. Dominicans, let's move on in the interest of time. We have like 2 segments to cover. We're going to cover now the segment that I dubbed the daunting task ahead of any future government. Again, the daunting task of any future government. Dominicans, we are at a place now that, as I said before, it will not be too long again that this regime will be no more. And I say that with all level of certainty. The writing is on the wall. There's a tekel, many, whatever the scripture says. Meaning you have weighed, and that weight was found wanting. And so whatever is required now of you, then you have to go. So that government will be no more pretty soon. Come hell or water. Now where I want us to focus now is on the next set of people, whoever they are, will be taking up those reins of power. You now have to understand what you get in yourself involved in. And that is where I want to piggyback on some of the points, the salient points that Brother Tad James made last week, I believe. Very forthright. It cannot be taken out, as they say in Dominica, tiwe boyo metipa. It cannot be that. And so if anybody now is eyeing power or eyeing a seat or eyeing a constituency or eyeing a ministerial position and would want to be of the mindset that they're going there to enrich themselves or play the game or line their pockets for the first 2.5 years or 3 years, my friend, take that out in your head. Because after what we have gone through with Roosevelt and Labour, the Dominican public for sure will not be sleeping, will not be lying down. And so it is on that note now that the Dominican public must ensure that things are put in place. As I said, it will not be an easy road. But you now have to declare your hand, as it were. You now need to tell the people as it is. So if you meet the country with $5 in our coffers, you say that. You tell us that. Our debts outside there, you tell us what the debts are after you do your calculations. So we are well informed from the get-go. Our name, let me qualify it better. Our good name is sordid out there in the international, especially the international arena. That must be cleared up, or an attempt, a genuine attempt must be made to clean up, to mop up the mess that this Labour Party has created for us in Dominica, internationally. And so whoever, that is a job of priority that must be done. We cannot continue with our name in quagmire like we are now. No. We are, as it is said, the laughing stock. Some Dominicans, when they flash this green CARICOM passport and the Dominica flag is on it, or inside there, it is like, you know, we are watched twice and 3 times. Because why? Some things goes with that document that is very nefarious in nature. And so when somebody with their French passport or their British passport or their whatever passport would just sail through, you normally see it on the security officer's face, on the immigration officer's faces. They watch you, they put you on, they watch it again, they make sure that, you know, and it's not a good feeling. It says something. And in that breath, it makes you feel less of a human being. Some persons are even pulled aside. And the interrogation goes on because of bearing a CARICOM passport with Dominica emblems in there. That's how it is. That is the facts of the matter. And so that good name of Dominica has been sordid tremendously. We now have to pay to go to England, to Europe, our mother country, as it were. We have to go to pay money in terms of visa access to go to England. And the rest of the European states, they are falling in line. The rest of the European countries, they are falling in line. So don't be surprised, we will be added to some more countries pretty soon that require visas to enter. That is how bad it is. And if you are not traveling, if you are not privy to those situations, you will say, but what is he talking about? But it's when you're in it, you know it. When you're in it, you feel it. And you're treated as any ordinary person going and waiting in line for a visa. There's no preferential treatment. So if it's sun, it's sun. If it's rain, it's rain. If it's snow, it's snow. That's what it is. Something that we had as part of the negotiations that went on after gaining independence. We now have to pay for it. That is all as a result of the mismanagement, as I said earlier in the preamble, of our affairs of states where Dominica is concerned. Someone says they are the last person to go for immigration after being the first person in line. We get that as well. So folks, we have to clean up our mess. And I can't say it any better. And some of the big businessmen and big people in Dominica, they know that. Because they too, they feel the pinch when they try to push their business or businesses out there in the international market. And they get that kind of feedback. Not because their business or businesses are not bona fide, but it's because of the country of origin of these businesses. Then you get that kind of extra grilling. And some of them know exactly what I'm talking about. Because some of them meet me and talk to me. Big business people in Dominica. Those we call the Gobu. Yeah? So I'm not telling you something off my head. They will not come and tell you because for whatever reason, but you know, I'm the conduit. And that's fine enough. No problem with that. So our name, it has to be cleaned up. Regionally as well, we are not doing good. We are lagging. Austria again told us we are last in the Caribbean basin. We are last. We are last in food security. Although we pride ourselves as being the nature eye. We last in manufacturing. Although we pride ourselves as having all our agricultural produce. We are last in healthcare. We have to run to Barbados. We have to run to St. Vincent. We have to run to Antigua. We have to run all over the place to do basic procedures. Other than that, is the morgue you Peter. End of story. So Austri said it right. We have been last. And so thank you, Mr. Austri, for at least being true to your conscience back then. Antigua don't have the kind of resource we have in terms of water. But we cannot seem to get around selling water to Antigua. But every time an election comes around, we will take boatloads, plane loads, and go to the same Antigua to bribe and cheat our way in the elections. That's what it is. So who is looking out for the people? Who is really looking out for the people? I suggest before and continue to say, the people will only look out for themselves, or should only be looking out for themselves. Nothing else. Nobody else will look out for you but you. That's it. We are last in terms of the remuneration that we get for work. St. Kitts is $9, $10 an hour, double what we are getting in Dominica for donkey years. Imagine in this day and age, somebody's getting $4 and change. 4 EC dollars, by the way, let me qualify. Because some of you US-minded people think it's 4 US. No, it is 4 EC dollars an hour in Dominica. So we are also last in that as well. Watch around our region. See the amount of businesses, investments that are thriving because of their thrust to go into green and renewable energy. Where's Dominica? We still have diesel generator working back, smoke whole night, whole day in Fongole. We still have those foolishness. And we say we're in the 20th century. When the hydro is low, that's it for us in Dominica in terms of electricity. Talking about electricity, Mrs. what's her name? Mackenzie. I heard you officially left Domlec because of your quitting that job. I personally, we had some engagements back then when you were there as chair or general manager. I think you did your best in the circumstances that presented itself. So I want to say thank you very much for trying your best. And we look forward to you engaging in terms of another venture where Dominicans can participate or can benefit. You're a solid woman and just keep your head up. Things are looking up. But again, thank you very much. What's her name as well? I think, what's her name? I forgot her name now. The PRO, I think they sent in their resignation together. So maybe PRO should be up as well. That is Adina. Adina, if that is the case, then you are very good in terms of your articulation. You really belted out Dominic's positions when I listened. And so thank you very much. Yes, Valentine. Yeah? Job well done, my friend. Continue on your journey. The name or names that I'm hearing in the bag for to cop that position of general manager, then your guess is as good as mine as to the person's output. But we will wait. So yes, we are saying that whoever the team that takes up that position as government in the future, you have your work cut out for you. You have to be upfront with the people. Upfront with the people. Obviously, there are security matters that the nation cannot know. That is fine and well. But you have to be. You have to be. One of the things as well that these people must do, it's imperative, they have to do it. Other than that, let me use a phrase from Ozzy Lewis now. Ozzy, good evening to you and your wife, Yusi, in the Emzor area. It would be a travesty of justice if that is not done. Thorough investigations must go on into matters of state, especially where money, l'argent, surely money we have been talking about for years, especially into that arena. Proper forensic investigations must now start into our monies, where they are, who has them, where, how much, and where, as they say, where the chips fall, it have to fall. Because I'm not no big accountant. I'm not no big mathematician. But if the passports we are saying that are sold, they were indeed sold. I'm not in parliament, so what's his name cannot stop me from saying they are sold or they were sold. These monies we are talking about now, the spreadsheet is not balancing. Something is wrong. Something is amiss. And so that is where now those investigations must go on now to find out who are in possession of these monies, what accounts they are, where they are, and basically to help retrieve them, bring them back into our coffers. And as I said, whoever is found wanting in these departments, let the law have its way. And remember, people, the world that we live in now, it is considered to be a global village. So folks may try to run, but they cannot hide for too long. Another situation that we must as a people look into, it is the sort of begging bowl mentality. You see that begging bowl thing? Is a thank you, thank you, thank you. No, people. We have to get out of that. Slowly but surely. And so that's why I said before, it is a very daunting task these people would have on their hand. So you guys better be ready. You have houses, apartments, money, groceries, light bill being paid, the Wasco bills being paid, rent being paid, top up, ice pop, everything is just thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much. As a matter of fact, there was a quasi ministry made for that called the Red Clinic. It has maybe turned purple now or pink now. But there was a Red Clinic before, was dishing out monies to people who some of them were not qualified to get those monies. And so because of that now dependency syndrome, the country now has been affected adversely. And so that mentality, people, we must counteract that. We must do that. Dominicans need to go back to work. to work. And one way we can start that, going back to work, productive work, is by the country we have. We call it the nature isle. That should mean something for us. I was telling somebody yesterday, yeah, my guy who works with me, if you throw a seed in Dominica on concrete, just throw it on concrete, it will find a way to grow. That is to draw the point to you, Dominica is still rich in its fertile soil. And so one of the ways I really and truly believe that we can start to put people back to meaningful and productive work, it's through the agricultural sector. Let's start there. The rest will come. But let's start there. That foolishness about passport and selling our birthright for a pot of stew or soup, we have to cut it out. We have to, like when you're going to do a surgery, take out fibroids, you women know that. Cysts, you women know that. Remove it. Some of you women remove your womb. Remove it. We need to excise it. That is how drastic the mentality must be. Because that begging bowl mentality, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, it has not worked in many countries, and certainly it is really showing up its ugly head in Dominica. But 20 years of something, it will take its toll. So it is not a magic. It is not just, pull the magic wand and it will be eradicated. Slowly but surely we have to get our people back to it. Our young men, our young women, our middle age, the elderly, they can still contribute to country even in their twilight of years. That may just make them live a bit longer because their brain has been exercised. Put them people back to work. Find innovative ways to get them working. That is what we're talking about, people. And this agricultural sector that I spoke of, it cannot be like it was in the 60s and 70s, planting fig, packing fig in box and bringing fig by boat. No, those days gone. Forget about that. We now have to add value to these resources. So if it's fig we planting, we have to make fig chips, fig flour, whatever it is, fig juice, whatever it is. We have to be creative in doing something with our raw materials to make it stretch. So if it's cocoa, we have to be innovative. If it's yam, dashing, whatever it is, we have to do that. If it's peppers, we cannot just ship our peppers overseas in bulk. No. So which now calls for, as Adelaide Paul is saying, an agro-processing unit or sector needs to be in place to deal with that. We have to be able to get much more value for money in the future. That's it. Do you know how good it would be for us to witness in Dominica young people, the energetic bunch, be engaged in these factories that we have been envisaging for years? I had a little stint at DCP when I was much younger, and it was an eye-opener. I worked at DCP for some time, not too long, I can tell you that straight up. The night shift I couldn't take. Because we had to do 3 shifts. 7 to what? 7 to 3. Then 3 to 10 or 11 or midnight. And then midnight to another, whatever. And I did 2 weeks. I did the day, afternoon to night. That midnight story I told the supervisor. So, but it was a wonderful experience to be in that setting whereby teamwork was at its best. That one deal with the bottle cover, that one deal with the wrapper, that one deal with the labeling, that one, everybody have their job and we were in line, we're in a line. So you start up there with something and you end down there with something else. And so I am looking forward to the day, people, when the young people in particular will be engaged meaningfully in ways like this and more. Give them something to do that they will feel very good in doing. They'll have a certain level of pride. Because young people can work. They have the energy. They have what it takes. They can stay up all night from whatever in the sea-war, in the sea-wind. So they can do that as well. But the enabling environment must be there. Coupled with that, you must be giving them a good pay. That will be an attraction. Flowers planting cannot cut it. Roadside sweeping and cutting grass cannot cut it anymore, people. For our young people. And I'm seeing now some of our elderlies are even joining the ranks. Married women, married men, by the side of the road cutting grass. I mean to say, I'm not decrying anybody in terms of what they choose to do for a living, but you think that is what a married woman of 50-something years plus wants to do? No. If you have a discussion with her or him as a husband, that's not what they want to do. But that is what is available. That is what is available for $800, $900 a month. Meager salary. Pittance, I call it. But there was a good old phrase my brother Roy Proctor used to say. And I never, ever, ever let that phrase sink into much. Although it was good rolling off the tongue. Never bite the hand that feed you. That mentality I've been in for too long. If the hand that feeding you is not feeding you properly, I am suggesting you need to chop it off. Get another hand. Get other hands. Because some hand will feed you, and they will feed you just for you to stay alive. They will not feed you health enough so that you can thrive. And that is what has been happening in Dominica. I always lament the fact when a young lady told me she's working at a supermarket in Dominica and the NEP workers at their $900 rate per month is making more than her as a cashier. When she told me that, I had to watch her twice. I said, "You're joking?" She said, "Yes." As a cashier in Dominica, handling monies, $800 EC a month. That is what? Just under 300 US a month. That is the reality. And so people, we have to change that. We cannot continue on that track. We cannot. We have been there for much too long, people. Much too long. Trust me on that. Let me just take a look at the time here as we 7:30, so we have half an hour left. But basically, people, in a nutshell, that is what I had present for you tonight, and that is what was delivered. So we can have this, back and forth now. Yeah? Remember, as I said earlier, Lloyd Pascal will be there tomorrow with us for the wrapping up conversation of Black History Month, a formidable brother. And also in the second segment, Edison James, former Prime Minister of Dominica, will be here with us, basically giving us much more detail as to the pardon. There is something that we have to go through. Dennis Charles' statement. I forget that completely. So we have one more segment. So he'll be there with us tomorrow, all right? Now, let me see if I can pull up Dennis Charles' statement. Read the Do Nothing campaign. We'll dissect that, and then we will get on the way pretty soon. Let me see if I can amplify that thing here now. Let me see this here. Let me see if I can go through here. All right, just before I forget, let me just read some comments that came to me via WhatsApp, because I know I'll forget that, and some persons normally figuratively chop off my head. This one says, Lofty, I do appreciate you by just listening to your program. You're giving me courage. You're encouraging me. Things are going to get better in Dominica. All right, thank you for that encouragement here. All right. Anitha, good evening to you, my friend. Okay, I think that is the comments I will read from the WhatsApp conversation. Let me get to Dennis Charles' statement now, and we will wrap up in just a bit. All right, Dennis, where are you? All right, Dennis.
Any political party who can advise the citizens of its country to do nothing, to do no work, to become lazy and unproductive, it is very dangerous. You know what the Bible says about lazy hands should lead to poverty, that diligent hands make wealth, but lazy hands lead to poverty. That is the word of God, and we call ourselves a Christian nation, and most of the times we make these statements in our rallies or meetings. When they're making those statements, they're calling God name, you know. They even had pastor co-hosting their platforms and endorsing these ridiculous statements. And that, we have to be very careful with that. We are in a prime time in our country because we are making significant capital investments that we're going to recognize the returns on in a few years. What we need now is an increase in production. We need farmers to plant. We need people to invest. We have to increase in agro-processing, I agree, and that is why the government, even in the last budget, we made provision to do a manufacturing plant. We are focused on increasing productivity, but things happen in phases, and then there are events that happen beyond your control. So at times you are delayed as a government to implement some critical projects and programs you want to do. But what I can tell you is that our country is on the right path. We have to stay focused.
All right. Mrs. Pemberton said we have to stay focused, and I agree with her. Folks, let us dissect that statement here, and we will be moving on shortly.
You have to love Dominica first. And any political party who can advise the citizens of its country to do nothing, to do no work, to become lazy and unproductive, it is very dangerous.
All right, Dennis Charles, let's cut you here for now. Dennis Charles is basically saying here that any political party that tells its citizens they do nothing, they do no work. It is a party that doesn't mean good for Dominica. Okay? Now, what I understood went on at the Arch last Sunday in terms of that pronouncement in particular. It was basically to catch the attention of the powers that be. Because for much too long, Dennis, you have been part of that cabal that have not been doing for Dominica. And a number of times over, we have been saying, which you alluded to at the back end of your speech, much more could have been done. So that innovative idea of do nothing, it is basically simply a continuation of what you guys have been doing. Because you have not been doing much, to say the least. You have not been doing much. Dominica, after 20 years, Dennis Charles Pemberton, you must agree, consciously that is. You may want to put on your Labour Party conscience, but the God-given conscience of yours, it must evoke you to agree and say, yes, we could have been further. But because of you guys' laziness, your doing nothingness for 20 years, then that is why we are where we are. And so that call to action, it is basically to catch you guys' attention, to alert you guys as to what you have not been doing. Simple put.
You know what the Bible says about lazy hands should lead to poverty, that diligent hands make wealth, but lazy hands lead to poverty. That is the word of God, and we call ourselves a Christian nation, and most of the times we're making these statements in our rallies or meetings.
Let me stop Dennis crap for a little while. I call it crap in terms of response. Dennis is saying a lazy hand should not eat bread. A lazy hand need to work. Who created those lazy hands, Dennis? Who? Is it the people in opposition? Matter of fact, if you ask me, people who are in the opposition are much more innovative. That is the only way we could stay afloat, by you guys' rigorous policies. That's the only way. And so if you look at the thriving businesses around, small businesses that is, in particular, if you look at the owners of these businesses, they are not in support of the status quo. And so when Dennis is coming and talk about a lazy hand should not eat, they have created these lazy hands. They have not created the environment for young men and young women to work. So obviously their hands will be and are lazy. When a red clinic, as I said before, my friend Charles, Dennis Charles Pemberton, was created to come and beg, literally beg. What are you talking about? You created that problem. And so now the problem is being exacerbated in your face or in your faces. You want to remove it and put it onto something else or somebody else. But no, it has to stay on your faces. They have to stay on your faces. And she talks about Bible. Dennis Charles Pemberton talks about Bible.
When they're making those statements, they're calling God name, you know. They even have pastor co-hosting their platforms and endorsing these ridiculous statements. And that, we have to be very careful with that.
Dennis, the same Bible that you're talking about the Bible said a lazy hand should not eat. That same Bible tells you as well and your colleagues, thou shalt not steal. thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not do this and thou shalt not do that. The same Bible. So are you selectively quoting that Bible, Mrs. Pemberton? Only selecting the portion of parts that fit you or suits you and your gang? When you quote in scriptures, my friend, you need to quote them properly. Don't quote part and keep part. It's a whole Bible. It's not a part of a Bible. So when the Bible tells you and I, thou shalt not steal, in effect what it is telling us, thou shalt not steal elections. And that is what you guys have been doing umpteen years now. Remaining on the backs of the people through stealing, bribery, and cheating. And the Bible tells you it is wrong. That is what you must quote from the Bible. At least that too. The Bible self tells you, and you quoted it right, a lazy man should not eat food. Who have created these lazy men? Who have created this lazy and begging society? It's your people. You guys. When you can give somebody an apartment for free, that is working, that can pay towards that apartment. Who created that mentality? Who? So don't pass the buck, my friend. You have big, strapping men and women working. Some of them working in ministerial position. Well, not ministerial position, but in the ministry. Well, in ministerial positions, yes. Not as ministers. And they are given free apartments. Pass by some of these apartments late night, early morning, like I normally do sometimes, and see the kind of vehicles that are parked outside these free given apartments. Added to that, they have FA, meaning they got duty free. Some luxurious vehicles parked outside these apartments. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And you give these same people houses and homes free. So who created that mendicancy that you are trying to shoot down? Who? Just who? You guys created it. So when you quote in scripture and rebuttaling and do it, just put your brain in gear, my friend. Because you may be opening your mouth there a little too quick. Because they say when you point one finger, 4, some persons have 6 fingers, so 5 may be pointing back at you.
We are in a prime time in our country.
And I agree with you. A very prime time, you should say. Not just a prime time, a very prime time. But what have you guys done with that prime time? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Squandered prime time.
Because we are making significant capital investments that we're going to recognize the returns on in a few years.
These capital investments, people, they include Chinese from China through these companies coming to build for us in Dominica. These investments that she spoke of is their cronies building hotels from our passport without even injecting into those investments $1 from their pocket. They are all over the place. Those investments she spoke of are buildings standing, companies standing, organizations standing as proxies for much more dirty dealings to go on. Those infrastructural structures she spoke of, we have an example in the city center. We are waiting with bated breath. We are waiting with bated breath to see who will be the person or people that will come to front as owner or owners of the House of Dark Secrets in Roseau. We are waiting. And so that is the kind of infrastructures and investments that Mrs. Pemberton is talking about, where it does not trickle down to the common man. The man who is selling bakes and akra on the streets and pilau, it doesn't trickle down to them. So get it right, my friend.
What we need now is an increase in production. We need...
Yeah, I agree with you. 150%. We need an increase in production. But we don't need it now. We needed it 15 years back. So we'll be reaping now. So you see, you are now mixing up, mudding up the waters, my friend. You're giving people that very deceptive notion. Oh, it's now we need it. We don't need it now. We are in desperate need of it now. We needed it back then. So we'll be reaping the fruits thereof today.
Farmers to plant. We need people to invest. We have to increase in agro-processing. I agree, and that is what...
The farmers that Mrs. Pemberton spoke of. Some of these farmers, quote unquote, some of these non-farmers, quote unquote, are receiving inputs. Their seller is stocked with inputs, with rake, shovels, garden tools, and they are not nowhere close to a farm. That is the kind of investments in agriculture Dennis is talking about, where their cronies are taking these things under pretense and selling it to bona fide farmers.
Any government, even in the last budget, we made provision to do a manufacturing plant.
You should have made provision to do a manufacturing plant, Dennis. You should have made provision to have processing plants. Plants, capital, not plant. Plant should have been in 10 years back, 15 years back. Now we should have been talking about the other plants that are in progress, so that young people, as I said before, could be working. That's what we need now. That's what we need now. You have young men in construction in Dominica. These young men are just there, languishing in limbo. They don't know if they come in or they go in. And they're seeing Chinese passing up and down with trucks. Chinese bringing everything. And our young minds, young impressionable minds that can work, that can do in the country, they are left outside in the cold. That is what you guys must attend to, Dennis.
We are focused on increasing productivity, but things happen in phases, and then there are events.
Things happen in what? Things happen in phases. She yet to clarify what has happened as per the phase gone by. Things happen. It's again the playing of words, playing on words. So when an unsuspecting Dominican hear that, an innocent, somebody that don't have their finger on the pulse as to what they want, then this sort of, things happen in phases, and don't worry about that, it will come around, and highfalutin words. Dennis, you know better than that. You should do better than that. And stop fooling the unsuspecting Dominicans. And so that is why these programs are there to expose your hypocrisy and your lies. Downright lies. That's it.
It happens beyond your control. So at times you are delayed as a government to implement some critical projects and programs you want to do. But what I can tell you is that our country is on the right path. We have to stay focused.
That last segment is laughable, so I'll not even comment on that in the interest of time.
All over the world, people are experiencing a little bit of hardship. Because it is normal. You are recovering from a pandemic where the world was on hold for almost 2 years. And then, when you thought, okay, you only had to deal with the pandemic, you are hearing about wars. You have wars going on. You have 2 major wars going on.
If you wanted to exaggerate that point, I am suggesting to you, you should have gone back to 1979 hurricane. That's where you should have gone back. That's where I am suggesting you should have gone back. 1979 hurricane. That's where you should have gone back. But to come in and talk that foolishness about pandemic, the whole world gone through pandemic, the whole world is bouncing back small as it is. Dominica still remain in the dented position as it is, with lack of this and lack of that. And you're talking about wars. And when did Russia war start in Ukraine? 2 years now? You guys are in government 18 years past that. So what are you talking about wars? The Israel and whatever that is on display now. That is what, 6 months in the making? What are you talking about, my friend? You're talking about a pandemic. The same pandemic, Dominicans did not get a dime. The same pandemic, everybody was struggling. The Eagle Boys, everybody broke. So we were broke all the way back then in the pandemic. While St. Lucia made provisions for the people. St. Kitts and Nevis made provisions for the people. Barbados made provisions for the people. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Bus drivers had to call a strike in Dominica to get something. And where a young man was brutalized by some officers. We well remember those days, my friend. So don't blame it on pandemic. Don't blame it on wars. To me, you guys are the pandemic that have been raging on Dominica for 20 years. So if you say that, if you had said that, I would agree. You are a pandemic, the Labour Party pandemic that shut down the country for 20 years. Nothing coming in, nothing going out. That is what it is. And I'm very passionate about that response, Dennis. It is mind-boggling that those words will be coming from a, let me be gentle, minister.
So all these things impact supplies and will cause inflation. It is not within the government's control. But what we have to focus on is that
Dennis, we have our monies out there. And you guys are not even denying it again. We have these monies out there that could help with these inflation prices or inflation situation that you spoke of. So bring our monies in. Let us deal with the inflation. That's all. Don't have it out there. The books are not balancing and you're talking about inflation. It can't cut it. It can't fly.
Advise people, how do you increase your revenue? And that is why when I speak to my constituents, I say, you see, these days you have to figure out multiple stream of incomes like many Dominicans are doing.
I wonder who Dennis gave that response, or where did she say that? Because I am hearing that, and I would ask Dennis straight up. Just pause there. Who are these people that you're talking about from your constituency level that can provide these multiple streams of income? Give me names. Don't just come and give me something off your head. Give me data, give me proof, give me truth, and then we can continue. But I guess whoever she was talking to, let her escape.
Many Dominicans who have Airbnb properties, they have their homes, they have their permanent job, but they're renting properties. That is what any responsible opposition should be encouraging people.
Dennis, the reason why you guys are giving out apartments is because the same people you talk about Airbnb, they cannot pay those rents. Okay? So put that in your pipe and smoke it. The same people that you guys are giving and have been giving apartments, they cannot maintain these apartments. Their spending power is zilch. And so where are these people now that you're calling on to invest in guest houses and mini hotels and whatever it is you spoke of? Where are these people going to get those streams of income as you spoke of? Have you provided streams of income for the young people? Other than a program that is always under pressure, where they're not getting paid on time, 5 months late, where the loans that the financial institutions are running in arrears, which are not part of their doing. And as a result, penalties are kicked in on them and they have to pay. That is what you should concern yourself about. So if you and your guys have multiple streams of income, you need to tell the people, show the people how that is done. And unless you can do that, then your talk is just talk.
There's going to be growth in the country. Position yourself to take advantage of that growth.
Lord have mercy. Dennis said there's going to be growth in the country. Position yourself for that growth. Dennis, key growth, sir. Give us 2% growth, 3% growth in what sector. Don't just throw off those things off your head. Those concrete jungles all you build in there. Is that the growth you're talking about? Is that the growth you're talking about? We just want to know. We just want to know.
Make the investments where you can have complementary businesses and needed businesses to support the growth. But no, that is not what we're hearing from the opposition. And that has always been the case with the opposition in Dominica. I listen to other radio stations, Antigua, Grenada.
All right, folks, in the interest of time, we're going to cut that crap. Because this doesn't make much sense. All right? And Dennis is now stretching the joke now. She's stretching it. If you hear the kind of fire, brimstone and fire that has been coming from these people on these radio stations in these parts of the region, then you're listening to something else. All right, so get your act together, my friend. Folks, it is 3 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock. We have to go. We are on time. Well, not 3, 1 minute. All right, 1 minute to the hour. So that was it for tonight. In terms of the information, I hope you guys enjoyed every bit of it. I enjoyed the journey, although the energy wasn't there in the start, but obviously when the juices got flowing, then the energy was packed up. All right, so thank you very much, guys. See you tomorrow from 6 o'clock or at 6 o'clock on the CV Vice program, where I said Edison James will be there, and also Brother Lloyd Pascal. All right, Dominicans, thank you for your eyes and ears each and every time. Those of you who have to do something this evening, please do everything in moderation. All right, thank you very, very much indeed. All right.